You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. He's speaking to us from Arizona. Welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Mark, are you a financial advisor?
I am not. I'm a newsletter publisher. Used to be a financial advisor, but I don't provide financial advice. But I'd be happy for those of us who are listening to go to VRTrader.com and take a look at our whole series of newsletters which cover all the major markets, including even crypto, which is particularly hot right now with Bitcoin getting up back to over 100,000, 101,000. In fact, today, which as you and I have been talking about, has been one of my bullish predictions. Do you have a special offer for our listeners? I tell you what, we'll break custom here a little bit. We haven't done it in the last couple of weeks, so sure, let's do it. That's half off is the promo code, HALFOFF, just HALFOFF. We changed a little bit, and that gives you half off for any newsletter or any time frame you sign up for. So go to VRTrader.com and get a big picture on the screen of all our newsletters, and pick the one you like. I would encourage you to take a look at the blockchain letter because I think this is a big area coming up in terms of potential gains in the market. But certainly, if you had to pick one outside of that, I would take a look at the platinum letter, which it's not necessarily talking about platinum, the metal. It's just that's the name of the letter, and we cover all the major markets in our platinum letter, including a little bit of crypto as well. So half off at VRTrader.com.
Mark, how would you describe what's going on the stock markets right now?
Responding favorably to the upside. We have been looking for a low in the April, early May time frame, and we certainly got the washout in April as everybody panicked on the tariff story. I'm a bull. Nothing goes straight up. We've had a big move here. In fact, I think we hit a new little recovery high today compared to the early April low. So, if it decides to pull back or if Trump comes out with something they don't like to hear or the negative financial or mainstream press tries to squash some of the positives out there, I guess you could get some type of pullback. A lot of talk about Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve. He had his FOMC meeting yesterday, the second day meeting, and there was no change in interest rates, and everybody is holding their breath thinking that the answer to the financial markets, actually they probably think two things are the answer to the financial markets, is get rid of all the tariff talk, which I disagree with, which is ultimately very positive on a bigger picture basis, just to create a more level playing field in the world, but and also for Powell to dramatically lower interest rates, and that would suddenly make the whole world hunky-dory and everybody would be happy. But they're not talking about the fact that he has been increasing the money supply, and which is, inflationary. And it's not so much a function of the rates. It's more of a psychological factor about lowering the rates. In fact, the bond market has been trying to rally a little bit, anticipation of some future rate cuts, but the truth is that you got to watch the bond market because it's a tail wagging the dog situation. When the long bonds start to rally, that means rates are coming down, and regardless of what Powell says or does or doesn't do. So, and the bottom line is rates are coming down. Just the charts are telling us that there's going to be either political pressure, the money supply increases that I've been talking about, and the action of the bond market. So I think it's just a positive scenario here going forward. Obviously, not every day is going to be up in the stock market or up in the bond market, but I'm still to answer your question. I'm bullish, and any pullback we get here or correction would be, I think, an opportunity to add to your position. So I think the highs that we saw early in the year, we're going to exceed those highs this year. And I can't give you the exact date. A lot of that is shown in my forecast model on my chart. When you subscribe to that, you could see some of the dates there. Those are some theoretical dates. But I think, you got to be positive. I think it's negative sentiment out there is too great. There's too much money around the world. Certainty actually brings money into North America, into the U.S. markets as a bastion of safety. And there's a lot of companies here that are at bargain basement prices after the correction we just saw here into April. So I'm a bull.
What's happening with gold?
A little toppy. I mentioned this a couple times in our recent interview. We actually put on an inverse ETF position, bearish position in gold as a hedge. We're keeping our other long positions, but sometimes we hedge the positions. We had a big move here. Everybody really bullish. Some selling is coming into it. And I think if things tend to get resolved, with regard to Ukraine or with regard to Gaza or even with regard to uncertainty regarding the tariffs, I think a lot of the bull move, a lot of the steam will come out of the bull move in gold here short term. I think most of the move in gold is related to the war in the Mideast and the war in Ukraine. And if these things get settled, hopefully they are, that could take a lot of bullish pressure off the gold market for a while. So I don't think it's inflation. I think it's more political and military uncertainty that drives it higher, though we can argue all day long about the money the government's spending and how the dollar has gone down and how the only safe place long-term is gold. Those things may be true, but I think if they settle the wars, gold could have a nice shakeout. And there's some charts that I look at. I'm not saying it's going to go there, but there's some big support numbers, 1,000 points lower in gold, around the 2,400 level. That, if we had a major correction, which nobody is anticipating, but if it does happen, we'll get some further signals. And if we start getting some more signals, we'll probably exit some of our gold positions and our ETFs and so forth. We haven't done that yet, but there is the possibility that if the selling starts to come in and the news starts to change, there could be a nice shakeout, which would ultimately be a great buying opportunity on the longer term basis. So, again, I'm not trading or predicting 2,400, but I could see that happening in an extreme situation based on news development. So keeping long-term positions. I'm not selling my gold coins that are in the vault, but I'm telling you that it's a little toppy here.
What's happening with crude?
I'm still a bear. We're getting little pops here along the way. Crude got down about $55 a barrel, and this charts say it could even get to the 40s. It got down faster than I thought, and we're still holding a short position in an ETF. I think there's going to be, more. I'm not going to describe the oil situation in terms of barrels being produced. I know OPEC decided to increase their production, which is the excuse the news is talking about why prices just dropped recently. Maybe OPEC has a lot to do with it. We have the more positive atmosphere with oil production here in the U.S., and as people disagree that just because we opened it up doesn't mean that oil companies are going to go out there and do it if oil prices have pulled back. But I still think that's a positive, creating a lot of supply out there. So I think it's correct to say this was a Trump sell signal for crude oil when he came out with opening up the leases and providing a more accommodative atmosphere for the oil business and industry. So, if there's some extraordinary event, there's always these left-wing black swan events. War suddenly breaks out in some dramatic way. Putin decides he wants to invade Germany and other countries too, and things turn really to the worse. I guess gold will go up, and I'll be wrong in my thinking of a correction there, and oil may go up too, because of supply issues and war-related events. So, and that could always happen. But the charts overall say that the trends is probably down in crude oil and probably a little pullback in gold here for a while. And I think that's a result of things politically settling down. The charts don't lie, and I know Donald Trump is out there trying to stop the killing in Ukraine and try to reason with Vladimir Putin, and I think they're going to clean up Gaza at long last and take care of Hamas. And when that settles down, hopefully, that'll be, more reasons why the pressure won't be to the upside in crude oil or gold. So let's see how it plays out. That's sort of my current thinking. I'm not rushing to buy crude oil here yet. If we get some significant news event and or hopefully technical signals confirming that, then we would change our mind. But that's where I'm at.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, what's happening on the currency front?
Well, everybody's talking about the U.S. dollar going to hell, and it had a big correction. And the euro, obviously, since it trades inversely, went up. I'm not throwing the dollar to the wolves yet. I still think, money still flows into the U.S. I think the tariff situation, the trade situation, is going to reinstate an uptrend in the dollar. It's not going to zero now, as everybody is talking about, has been talking about. So I'm looking for the dollar to firm up here, and again, it's a belief in Americans' exceptionalism and all that type of stuff. But I think there's a lot of truth to it, and I think we're going to see the dollar regain its strength, and to the detriment of the euro and the Canadian dollar and other currencies. So I'm bullish on the dollar. I just think it had a big shakeout. Everybody got really bearish, and it's not going the way of the dodo at this time.
What's happening with cryptocurrencies?
Well, now you hit my favorite subject. Thank you for asking. I'm really excited about the cryptos. Bitcoin got to 101,000 today. Recent high in the last 6 months, I think, was 107,000. There's a little resistance here around this 101, 102,000 level on the way up. We'll see how it acts. But, the next big number, I think, is 140,000. And then sky's the limit, zigzag, you're hearing stories up to $1 million or more, or even higher than that, looking at the years ahead, because the supply of Bitcoin is halved every so often. And you've got Donald Trump's Bitcoin reserve. A lot of this is being questioned in the Senate and the U.S. House, but they are trying to put together what's known as a genius bill, which is supposed to create a level playing field for crypto. So there's supposed to be a Bitcoin reserve and a crypto reserve being set up. And, it probably could take until the summer of 2026 before all this is resolved. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen now, but if you're looking at some of the ETFs out there, there's one that's particularly of interest to me. It's called XRP, and there's about 18 ETFs now in registration with the Securities and Exchange Commission here in the U.S. So once those ETFs get approved, just as we saw when the BlackRock ETF for Bitcoin got approved, was that a year ago, March, the darn thing took off. So, once ETFs are created, and we have a positive regulatory environment now. Under Joe Biden, nothing was being done. Gary Gensler at the SEC, he was a total knucklehead with regard to cryptos. So, we have an accommodative atmosphere now, and these ETFs will get approved, and hopefully the legislation in Congress, this genius bill and other things get settled in the months ahead, and there's going to be a more accommodative atmosphere for that. Now, I know some very smart people, not personally, but, Warren Buffett, for example, doesn't think very highly of cryptos, and many of other people that are smart also think that. But, what about when Bitcoin was $100 or $200 and it went to 107,000? I mean, you can have had that mentality all the way up and missed a huge move. I don't see it as just a bubble. I think it's a long-term, event, and we're still in the early stages of it. The world is digitally oriented, particularly among young people, and anywhere in the world, you could be in the middle of Africa, and if you have a cell phone and you can move crypto around on your phone, you can buy and sell anything around the world, and you don't need a credit card, you don't need a bank account. I mean, the flexibility that, not only Bitcoin but the cryptos provide in terms of, commercial activity and transactions is huge. And particularly this new XRP, Ripple is the company that created it. Apparently it has some tremendous capabilities in terms of executing transactions of all kinds all over the planet. And I'm not saying they're the only ones, but there's a lot going on out there. So you definitely got to take a look at it. What you have to do is have a portion of your portfolio, and you don't have to go out and physically get the cryptos, or you don't have to join the platforms that trade cryptos. You can, buy or trade an ETF, exchange traded fund, which is like a stock, and you can do it for Bitcoin, you can do it for XRP and others that are available. And you could also look at a stock like Coinbase, which is a platform that trades crypto, and their business obviously, will benefit from more activity in the crypto world. So there's a whole bunch of these small cryptos that we have in our blockchain letter. Some are trading at 2 cents, some are trading at $83. There's a whole bunch of them out there that all have upside potential in a favorable environment. And like any allocation, you keep a small allocation to any, investment. But, when I saw XRP, for example, go from 50 cents to $3.60 in 1 year, that's a hell of a percentage gain. And that's impressive. And you also got to watch Dogecoin, not the Doge with regard to Elon Musk's in Washington, but just happened it's the Dogecoin which has existed, and he's been behind that one for a while. And I think it trades around 18 cents or so, but was as high as 70 cents. So when you mention these numbers, people say, "Oh, this is just a crapshoot. This is penny stocks. This is something total gambling." And the answer, it's not. There's actually substance behind this. There's interest in it. And the commercial usability of these devices is really extraordinary. So, like anything else, nothing goes up forever. Everything does have volatility, but I think the world's changing in a big way, and the crypto is just not a speculative mechanism, and you can't be a disbeliever when you have a company like BlackRock, which is the largest money manager on the planet. I don't have the exact number, but it's in the trillions of dollars that they manage, form an ETF, which they did last March. The IBIT is a ticker symbol for the Bitcoin ETF. So when you have that type of support for something like this, BlackRock went out just recently. I think they bought up a bunch of ports at the Panama Canal, to give you an example, the kind of money and power they have. And Larry Fink is the head of that group, and he's an unbelievable a capitalist and creator of financial instruments. So you got to follow the money, the big money, and the big money is there. There's just a transaction with what's known as a stable coin, where Donald Trump Jr. apparently they're looking to make some acquisition, some $20 billion acquisition. It was in the news. I have it in my newsletter, using what they call a stable coin to do the transaction versus using, regular financing mechanisms. So big stuff. Big people are playing it. You want to follow the players. That's where we're at. So anyway, long-winded answer. Love crypto. Sign up for the blockchain letter.
What happened to that former Soviet satellite that was supposed to go to Venus but got stuck on an Earth orbit and was scheduled to crash down sometime soon?
Right. We got a lot of stories out there. In fact, today we were talking off air about that. Apparently it's due. It's said it's supposed to be heading into the atmosphere now, and between now and today's the 8th, between now and the 10th, it's supposed to come down. And there's actually, if you go to Google it, apparently there's going to be some virtual telescope live on YouTube where they're going to be tracking this thing. And all the reading I'm trying to figure out, it was the Soviet Cosmos 482 spacecraft that's been floating out there for 50 years. Suddenly never got to Venus, and heading back to the Earth now. Apparently it's been circling the Earth for all these years, and finally it's going to crash back down, but I can't pinpoint, and the articles are not pinpointing where it's actually going to come down, so I'd be looking out your window the next couple of days, because or put on a crash helmet just in case it decides to come into your living room, but it's heading down somewhere here. It'd be, I think it should crash back in the Soviet Union. That would be the more appropriate crash spot for it, since that's where it came from. But that's what's going on there. There was also discussion this week about an asteroid that was going to potentially endangering the Earth, and it's really nonsense. It actually came out today. I think it was in Forbes magazine, and it's about the size of a football stadium. But when you read the details of the article, they say it's supposed to fly its nearest point to the Earth tomorrow, May 9th. But if you look at the details of the story, they say it's 2.6 million miles away. Now, that's 10 times further than the moon. So I don't think we have much to worry about that asteroid, 2.6 million miles. But for some reason, it's getting some press here. And just on a closing note, there's apparently a big geomagnetic storm watch that they're predicting now. Apparently it's due tomorrow as well. So some high-speed solar wind stream is expected to exert some pressure on the magnetic field in the Earth tomorrow. So maybe that'll help push that Soviet satellite down to some crash target that they're all expecting. So anyway, just interesting stuff out there, going out there. See, not everything is the stock market or crypto. There are things in the skies we have to look at or think about.
Mark, always fun chatting with you. We look forward to next week.
Take care. Hopefully we don't visit that satellite.
Or it visits us.
Or visits us. Right. Thank you.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark or for any of our guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. We'll ask that question for you. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on X @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.